Hey guys, welcome back. So today it's the day after Thanksgiving and all of our Thanksgiving meals and everything's over, and it's time to get back to work. I need to actually probably work off a little bit of the food that I ate over the holiday. And the last thing I was working on was the pasture fencing. We were building those double braces, and when I was out here, I had the tractor out here and I didn't put it up. I actually left it parked outside, and just my luck, I had a tree kind of fall on the tractor. So let me show you this. So I left the tractor parked right here at the base of the dam, and this willow tree, not the healthiest looking tree, this whole limb fell over and hit the tractor. But I was pretty lucky, really, because it didn't hit the tractor itself, it hit the post hole digger, and the rest of the limb just kind of broke off and landed on the ground here. So you can tell it's a pretty rotten limb. Yeah, I'm pretty glad that it didn't hit the tractor and dent up like the fenders or the hood or something like that. So I need to go ahead and get this cleaned up. What I'm gonna do, we'll go get the chainsaw. I'll probably cut this up into firewood mostly, and it won't be firewood for the house. I'm just gonna probably throw it over here next to the fire pit, and it's something we can use out there because it's a pretty rotten tree. Not good enough to probably burn inside, but good enough to burn in a fire pit. So you can tell that that tree limb was pretty rotten. The lower part of the tree had a bunch of these mushrooms growing on the trunk, and then when you cut through it, it's not a nice smooth cut. It's a kind of a rough surface, kind of looks like a sponge because it's going soft and it's rotten and everything in there. So the whole tree itself kind of has that whole look. You know, there's some big limbs that are dead, and then there's other parts of it that are alive. It's just not a very healthy tree. So it may eventually the whole tree may need to be cut down, but I'm not going to do that today. So I've had some comments in the past about these chainsaw chaps that I wear, and people wondered if I was wearing them just so I kind of look cool for YouTube. And for the people that don't know about chainsaw chaps, these are actually a safety thing. These will stop a chainsaw before they go into your leg. And you can buy like off-brand ones or cheaper ones. You can buy them for like 50, 60 bucks, and that's cheaper than stitches. That's cheaper than an emergency room visit. It's definitely worth the money to buy them. I think if you buy like a steel brand one, you're going to pay probably somewhere close to $90 to $120 for a set of these. But I think I got these for 50 to 60 bucks. They are UL tested, so they've been tested to prove that they'll stop a chainsaw. And definitely worth it. If you're going to be messing with a chainsaw very much, you ought to get a pair of chaps. It'll save you money in the end if you ever get a chainsaw on your leg, for sure. So I'm going to go ahead and take this wood and stack it over by our fire pit. But right now we're sitting right next to the septic system that was just put in, and we've got a lot of rain and a lot of that dirt settling. So let me show this to you real quick while we're standing here. So right here is the new septic system that we just had put in a few months ago. And there was extra dirt all piled around here, and I had taken some for that culvert that we put in. Well, now we finally got rain, so all the dirt is finally settling down in the hole, and you can tell in a ring around this, it is settled anywhere from 6 to 12 inches. Actually, over here I've got a fairly good hole down in there where it's settled. So I ended up taking too much dirt away and putting it on the culvert. So now I'm eventually going to have to come back here and add some dirt to this and plant it with some grass seed and stuff like that. That's probably something we do in the spring. Well, while we're up here, the ducks are out of food in their bowls, so let's go up to the barn. I've been feeding them cracked corn that was left over from raising our pigs, and I'll show you how much of that cracked corn we ended up having left over. Plus, we did get our pigs back. We got our pigs back a week ago, and they did them really quick. I was really surprised. Like, by the time I dropped them off, I think it was 6 days later, they called me and said, hey, they're ready to be picked up. So they're very quick at processing, and they were way cheaper of a processor than the last one we used. And the only thing we've ate so far is the bacon, and that tasted fine. That tasted good. But I think I can go over the costs. I think I've got everything kind of calculated up. I can go over the costs of how much it actually, what it cost us to raise those pigs this year to put that meat in our freezer. And I'm pretty sure, I'm very sure that it was cheaper than last year. So let's go ahead and get some corn for the ducks. So this is our last 55-gallon drum of corn, and we've been feeding some of this to the ducks. So when the pigs got butchered, we probably had somewhere about in here, about maybe 5 to 6 inches down from the top, filled with corn still. So one of these drums will hold about anywhere from 300 to 350 pounds worth of cracked corn. So we know we had at least, minimum, we had at least 250 pounds of corn left over when we took the pigs to the butcher. Probably more than that. We also feed the pigs soybean meal that we mix in there with the corn to give them higher protein. And I think we had at least 75 pounds. We had a bag and a half of soybean meal left over when we were done. So I can take those off of our total feed costs, and I can come up with a fairly good cost for the pigs this year. There, ducks. Come on. Here, ducks. Dad. Here, Scout. Come on. Come on. Come on. There you go. No, Scout. Get over here. Come here. No. Come on. So I just ran inside and I did the costs to raise our pigs this year. So I did the feed cost, the butcher cost, all that stuff. So let's go over it real quick. So the 2 pigs, the feeder pigs were $50 a piece, and that's what I paid for pigs last year. So I think that's a pretty common price, at least around here, to buy a feeder pig. And the feed cost this year, I tried to save money with the feed cost. Instead of buying pre-made pig feed, I bought cracked corn and I bought soybean meal, and then I put a little bit of mineral in there as well, just a few ounces of mineral, and I made my own pig feed. So I bought cracked corn for 14 cents a pound, and soybean meal was 28 cents a pound. I'm not sure if those prices are good or not. I just go to my local feed mill and buy it. So I might be able to get a cheaper price if I go a little farther away. Let me know what you think, if those prices are on average what soybean meal and cracked corn should cost. But after I bought all the food that I fed the pigs this year, it was $266 for the feed for the pigs. So that's a total of $366 for 2 pigs and all of the feed. Now the pigs, I will say the pigs were not as big as last year. So I think they were about 220 pounds when they went to the butcher. So last year I think we had, you know, they were closer to about 280 pounds when they went to the butcher. So quite a bit of difference between last year's pigs and this year's pigs as far as size went. But you know, that's all because of the COVID and everything that's going on. You can't get a butcher date, and I kind of had to find a butcher that I could get them processed when I was guessing when they'd be ready. I kind of had to base it off of what I thought the age of the pigs was, and you know, how many weeks I thought it was going to grow out. So I obviously could have waited a few more weeks before I had them butchered, but with the butchers, they are right now booked all the way out to like next year sometime. So that's just kind of the way things are this year. You kind of got to do your best guess and get a date set for the butcher, or you're going to be doing it yourself. So the butcher we did go to was a different butcher than last year, because I had to find one. And this butcher actually ended up being cheaper than the one I used last year. He didn't have a slaughter fee like the other one did. He only had 2 fees. He had a fee for processing by the hanging weight, and then he had a fee for hams and cured stuff like that. So the total butcher cost ended up being $317.40. So I think that ends up, that's at least $100, maybe at least $100, maybe $150 cheaper than last year. And it was packaged just the same. It was in vacuum sealed, bags. So it's packaged real good, so it should last a long time. And I think I'm pretty happy with the way everything came. The only thing I've ate so far is the bacon, and the bacon tastes pretty good. Now, keep in mind that the pigs were weighed less, so our butcher costs were a little bit less based on the hanging weight. So that brought our total cost up to $683.40. So that's about $341 a pig. So that is quite a bit cheaper than last year. I think last year for both pigs, we've probably saved at least $200 or more over last year. Now I know that the pigs did way less, so it's really kind of hard to really justify how much we saved. But definitely got the cost down this year, and the only way I think I can get it down anymore is if I can find feed cheaper. I think that's the only way. And the only way I'm going to probably find feed cheaper is to travel farther to get it. I might have to travel an hour and a half, 2 hours to get cheaper feed. But Like I said, I don't know if those prices are good or not because I haven't really shopped around, but definitely cheaper than buying pre-made pig feed. So last year I took all of the pork and I weighed it to get a total weight of what we put in the freezer. Now I didn't do that this year. Now I do know that the hanging weight was 330 pounds for both pigs. That's the total hanging weight. So you're going to lose a certain percentage of that during the butchering process. It's going to be some loss in fat and bone and certain things. So let's say I got 250 pounds. That's just a guess. You guys can tell me what you think I ended up putting in the freezer, but let's say it's 250 pounds. If that's what I ended up with the freezer, it cost me about $2.75 a pound for the pork. So I think, you know, it's probably a little bit more expensive than the grocery store was like a year ago. I have no idea what the prices are for meat in a grocery store because we typically don't have to buy meat in a grocery store anymore just because we raise most of our meat now here on our property. But I know that meat prices have really skyrocketed this year with COVID and all that stuff. But that's just the best guess. You guys can give me your guess what you think the finished packaged weight was. But overall, I think we did get the cost down on the pigs, and I'm very happy with the 2 pigs that we had this year. They were the 2. I mean, they were great pigs. They were real friendly, real easy to work with, and yeah, it was just they were great pigs this year. As you can see, the sun is down over the horizon, and it is not going to take long now for it to get dark. So we'll be putting the animals up in the barn here in just a few seconds, and the chickens are still not laying eggs. We're getting like 1 to 2 eggs a day out of 8 chickens, and we've tried the higher protein feed. We've gave them the mealworms, which is higher protein. We've gave them the oyster shell, which is kind of like a calcium, but it's also like little rocks. So it's almost like grit as well. And then, you know, we've turned that light on in the morning, a few hours early in the morning, so that they get extra hours of light in the coop before we let them out. And still, no extra eggs or anything. So, not sure what we're going to do about that right now, but still, if you're curious, we're still not really getting any eggs from the chickens. Well, I think that's it for today's video, guys. I'm going to go ahead, see if I can find Rebecca, and then we're going to head out and lock up the animals. So, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.
Come on, hurry up. Come on. I'm gonna give you something. Get in here. Chatty Cathy bringing up the rear. Come on, honey. Get in here. You don't have any? Here you go. Here, Finny.